fall down paths already traveled, making the same mistakes as their predecessors. In 2025, there are so many examples from which we can draw experience. It would be a grave error to ignore those examples. This is a quote from Stalin. He says, "Theory is the experience of the working class movement in all countries taken in its general aspect." This quote establishes the necessity of engaging with the work of the past and present. In this sense, practice is the basis for all theory. Our thoughts about the world, to have any truth in them whatsoever, must be applied to reality. Human activity is a laboratory for developing these thoughts with new data. This new data becomes the basis for further activity. This is the reciprocal process of the two aspects feeding back into each other. The study of the past and present establish our understanding. With this considered, we are not called upon to reinvent the wheel. Many have come before us who have provided illumination for us to see the path, what works and what doesn't. This is not just to understand the current moment, but to be able to make accurate predictions of the future. As Lenin said, without a revolutionary theory, there can be no revolutionary movement. This quote encapsulates the foundation of real, clearly stating the necessity of linking together these two concepts in reality. There must be an allotted time for rigorous study of the problem at hand to understand its multifaceted essence. This allows for a conception of the big picture, what is to be done in the broad sense. Once this has been accomplished, we begin developing tactics to accompany the long-term strategy. Every movement is dictated by careful consideration of how that movement will lead to the desired outcome. Nothing that real does is a mere reflex against the happenings in the world. This is made plain by our name. We are the Revolutionary Education and Action League. The concepts for us are inseparably linked together from the start, and this link is always at the forefront of our minds. This discussion is meant to show the principles of real as an organization, the guiding philosophy of what we do and how we decide our action in the world. This is why we do political education before all of our events. We seek to ground all of our action in the community with the reminder that all of our work is explicitly political in nature. Politics does not begin and end at the ballot box. In fact, the ballot box at many times and places is a tool to ensure the power of a government that does not care about us. Meaningful political organizing occurs at the ground level amongst our peers, amongst the people at large. The drive to make change in the world, as stated by Marx, starts where we are at. We are here today to raise funds to expand our work, to continue its growth. We have a solid foundation, but there is still much work to be done, and we want to be able to meet the challenges of the future head on. Thank you. So we have another piece too. This one we wanted to do like a popcorn reading for. Comrade Vey should have put it on the link tree in the Real Instagram. That's real.orl, and should have put it on the stories. If you can find it, that should be there.
It's in the link tree. It says PE for today. It'll be on the top.
All right, cool. Thank you. And what this is it's a piece titled "Apartheid is a Cancer That Must Be Exterminated." This is a Radio Havana, Cuba interview of Thomas Sankara. So yeah, if whenever you all pull it up on your phones, if you could just raise your hands to let me know, because so I can involve you in the process. We'll get another one. Okay.
Hey, I don't see it.
You don't see it?
I see it. I got it.
Oh, you got it? All right, cool.
Okay, not in the story.
All right, cool. Thank you. Yeah, we'll pass it out to whoever's first. Yeah, of course, that would be a great idea. Yeah, so Thomas Sankara was like the principal leader of the revolution that happened in Burkina Faso. He was doing a number of amazing things for the country. I know some of the things he was doing, like he created a vaccination program that got vaccines to like 2 million children and stuff like that. But yeah, he was a very incredible leader. We should definitely be studying his words all the time. Unfortunately, he was eventually taken down by the French government because, we're not allowed to have nice things. And anytime a revolutionary actually steps up and changes the world, there's immediately going to be forces at play that try to take them away from that. So, but yeah, this speech is very profound. I really enjoy whenever I read Thomas Sankara's speeches. Kind of like reading Castro's speeches as well. Just very profound, very great with their words, their ability to explain like very complex concepts and bring it to on a level that's just so easy to understand and grasp. But so I figured we could start. Who all has it? Raise your hand. Let me know. All right, cool. So we'll start first with the first question. Would anybody like to volunteer to read the first question that is started by the Radio Havana Cuba interview? Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Cool. Thank you.
So where it says RHC.
Okay, Comrade President, what is the position of Burkina Faso against apartheid?
Bay, go ahead. Would you like to read Thomas Sankara's response?
Apartheid today is a form of modern Nazism.
Apartheid is a living element of the imperialism of our times. Ultimately, apartheid is also a strategy in class struggle for the exploitation of man by man. Consequently, tactically and strategically, we have to combat apartheid, not because we are black, but simply because we are humans and not animals. We have chosen, in the context of class struggle, the class of the future, the working class, which makes people free, prosperous, and happy.
Who'd like to volunteer next? Anybody like to follow after that? Go ahead. Behind you, Bay. Hand you the microphone.
What is being done concertedly in Burkina Faso to struggle against apartheid?
What do you think? Okay, go ahead, Jordy.
Burkina Faso organizes the struggle against apartheid at different levels. There are social organizations like the Burkinabe movements against racism and apartheid, but above all else, there is the political and ideological training of all Burkinabe within the framework of the Committee for the Defense of the Revolution. We indicate to them indicate all possible enemies of humanity and our people, one of which is apartheid. We take legislative, judicial, and political measures against apartheid. Read the full answer.
Yeah, go ahead if you would like.
We boycott international activities in which the people responsible for carrying out apartheid, the partisans and actors of apartheid, impose their presence. We combat it in sports, in cultural activities, in international meetings. We fight it economically. Also is a small, economically weak country. We combat apartheid and reject the products of apartheid. Our fight also continues by way of proletarian internationalism and the desire for a unity of action and reflection with other people in order to put an end to apartheid and exterminate this cancer that compromises not only Africa, but equally all of humanity. This is why we denounce with all of our strength the governments and regimes that in their hypocrisy say they oppose apartheid, but in reality are its true agents, the primary purveyors of apartheid in South Africa. Everyone deserves the same fate as the likes of Peter Botha, and even more because ultimately Peter Botha is only the arm while they are the brains.
Okay, whoever goes next, I would like you to read the next question and then also Sankara's response. So who would like to volunteer to go next? Go ahead, Oscar.
What is the significance of the next Organization of African Unity Summit for Burkina Faso? The next OAU Summit should constitute an extremely important stage in the development of our consciousness, but above all in the effective mobilization of multifaceted forces against apartheid and equally against all other ills that harass Africa, particularly indebtedness. We must denounce indebtedness as second pillage, a second round theft of African resources. We were colonized, exploited. Our resources were plundered. Today, they still want us to repay debts that we never contracted for our happiness, but these debts were imposed on us by the same people who, in the overflowing of their capitalism, considered it essential to create new markets, to invade them, and to dominate them with financial power.
Okay, who would like to go next? Who said that?
Hamer.
Oh, Hamer. Okay. Is that a question where it starts?
Comrade President.
Yeah, Comrade President.
Comrade President, Burkina Faso will soon celebrate the 3rd anniversary of its revolution. What is the current situation in Burkina Faso? Burkina Faso finds itself on the shining path of revolutionary victories. The construction of a new society for the benefit of a people that suffered for too long. But luckily, since the 4th of August 1983, with the arrival of the democratic grassroots revolution, lives the possibility of beholding a new future. Our 3-year-old revolution is in the process of consolidating itself. Many social successes constitute an endless list of victories in the domain of health. We have obtained many victories in the domain of education. Thousands of schools have been built. In the domain of health, there have been thousands of health clinics built. More specifically, 1 health clinic per village. This was one of our directives. The vaccination campaign has been extended to all countries, and in particular, children from our brother and neighboring countries have been vaccinated all along our border without taking into account the political regime, without considering the discord that exists between one or other of our neighbors and ourselves. We did this in the name of love for the people, but we are in the process of obtaining other economic victories. In the 5-year plan that will begin August 4th of next year, at the same time that the celebrations of the 3rd anniversary, will be a challenge that our people will have to meet and will surely overcome in order to construct an even happier society, so that we can achieve a bright future. But above all, politically, our revolution is in the process of taking gigantic steps by developing our tactics and strategy, armed with the ideology taught to us by the great educators of the proletariat. We are currently building a political organization. As Lenin said, without revolutionary organization, without revolutionary ideology, we will not achieve revolution. It is for all these reasons that our people are more and more certain that the difficult struggle that awaits them will result in victory, because the revolutionary forces organize themselves more and more on a sound basis, a clear ideological foundation, and a dynamic unity of action to obtain more for the benefit of all our people and for the benefit of other peoples, since here we say that he who loves his people loves other people. I would like to take this opportunity to commend the Cuban people, the Cuban Revolution, and especially the great comrade Fidel Castro, for the clear-sightedness and the internationalist sense of Cuba's commitment. This is why in Cuba, as well as here, we say homeland or death, we shall overcome.
All right, who would like to take us home here and finish this piece up?
Go ahead, Cliff.
Comrade President, to finish, would you like to send a personal message to Nelson Mandela? I will say to Nelson Mandela that no suffering is desirable for a human being except for masochists. When we suffer, when we bear pain and martyrdom for other men, for entire peoples, we can only be happy since we succeed in the miracle of transforming pain, suffering, and martyrdom into sublime happiness, into radiant victory for the benefit of other men. We animate humanity with an invigorating lifeblood, one that awakens the most daring and pushes forward those who are already infected. In this sense, Nelson Mandela in prison is 1,000 times freer, 1,000 times happier than those outside who consume under the exploitation of man by man, or worse, who always serve the objective interest of the enemies of the people, especially the arrogant imperialism of our times.
I want to thank everybody who participated in the popcorn reading. So going through my speech and then this interview of Thomas Sankara, what did anything in here specifically stick out to you all? What really hit in your minds? Go ahead, Georgie.
I like all views is like coming down and talk about yeah, so to me, I think what's most important is he keeps saying, you know, like the immediate standout line is we have to oppose apartheid not because we are black, but because we are human. Like, it's not about our self-interest. It's about what is better for the progress of humanity, which is the destruction of apartheid, which is the destruction of white supremacy. And in order to do that, he emphasizes class. He keeps saying the working class. He keeps saying the proletarian revolution. At no point does he say, we are doing this along any sort of like racial division. He says that we are doing this on a class basis to demolish imperialism, to demolish capitalism. to make sure that the systems that uphold white supremacy are taken down. Not just white supremacy as like an outgrowth, right? Because if we understand white supremacy, we understand that it is a direct, as it manifests in this modern day, is a direct outgrowth of the economic system that has imposed it. So what Thomas Sankara is doing, is saying, we cannot just deconstruct apartheid or white supremacy through an idealist, perfect, utopian notion of what that means to do it. We have to look at the actual material reality that enforces it, and the material reality is capitalism. Thank you.
Sure. I saw you had your hand up, James. Do you go ahead?
Yeah.
James?
One thing that stood out to me was one of the things that he spoke about having love for the people. A lot of times, a lot of us are on this path because of the frustration of what the government has been doing to us, what has been done to our immediate family and friends. But at the same time, as we expand, one of the things that happens, especially those of us who are in independent media, is that we see constantly this pain and suffering that constantly happens to not just people, but people who we're not connected to at all. Just for instance, I really have no connection to Palestinians outside of meeting people who are from Palestine outside of my door. But from seeing the cries and the tears and the pain and the carnage, then that affects my heart, because you have to have empathy and love for the people around the world. This is also one of the things that affected me so deeply when I saw grown men bawling in tears and crying at the border because they were being locked in a cage that Obama built and that Donald Trump had utilized in order to keep them there. And they were talking about how they haven't showered in 40 days and they were crying because they missed their babies. They came crossing the border with their children. And the thing is that ultimately a lot of us, you cannot participate in this if you do not have love for your fellow man and woman and theys, thems, and others. You cannot participate in this at all if you do not see yourself and other people. And so that was very apparent in what Thomas Sankara was doing. He was starting locally and he was expanding out. Castro started locally and he was expanding out. You know, people like Mao started locally and now is expanding out. See what they're doing for countries in Africa right now from China. So ultimately, it's about starting locally, like with Revolutionary Education Action Lead is doing, and expanding out so that we can show not only our love for the people, but care for the people as well.
Thank you, James. That's beautiful. Anybody else want to say anything? Any thoughts?
I think in all the questions that were brought up to Sankara every time, he specifically addressed how the economic and material things that we're doing, like when they talked about vaccines and hospitals for these children, he talked about how people were coming from outside the borders and these things were melding these different political and tribal ties from people who have been split up by borders that Europeans came in and drew up. So he's talking about how by doing this material and direct work, we're also starting to dissolve these political divisions between people. And he relates the work he's doing here to Fidel Castro and even Nelson Mandela. So I think it also goes back to what you were talking about earlier, the way in which when we go out and do the direct work of giving food or medicine to people, how that ties into work people are doing in other places and how we can use that to address these political systems that have caused these inequalities and issues in the first place.
That's awesome. Thank you.
I do want to say that when I was hearing Sankara's words, of course they rang true, but I'd imagine that people kind of think that Africa's all the way over there, right? That's an African struggle. They did that over there in Africa, dealing with their own conditions. But I want to bring it closer to home because what he was talking about was fighting imperialism, right? He also talked about not paying debts that were imposed on him by the French, but also by a network of colonialists that essentially make up imperialism. And imperialism is not an action. Imperialism is not something you do. Imperialism is a tangible system that has its boots on the necks of the people of Burkina Faso. However, it is the same system that has its boots on our neck. We too are riddled with debt, because that is how the imperialist ruling class, the financiers who rent out homes that nobody lives in, who drown people in debt, that's how they get their money. The same way they do it to Burkina Faso. Of course, there's a colonial relationship that makes it more extreme, but the fact of the matter is, the person that he was fighting is the same person that we're fighting right now, and that puts us in solidarity. So when we talk about empowering the working class, all that we've done is completely independent of that kind of finance. We want to build something that is independent from that monster, so that we can build up our own structures, our own bodies that are biased to the interests of working people, so we can attack that monster. So I hope that made sense in the way that, like, that is the way that you materially stand by colonized people or oppressed people in the world. They're fighting the imperialists over there. We need to fight imperialism right here.
Thank you, Bizu. Anybody else like to give their thoughts on this? Yeah, sure.
I'm not as well versed as some of you guys are as far as the reading and the, knowing the historical figures who've paved the way for what you're doing now, but I appreciate it. Being a little older, this information all came to me a little later in life, but the equation, like equating it to what I see now is, think about our prison system, our privately financed prison system, modern day slavery, that has not gone away. Thinking about how we silo people in communities, like you've got your communities with gated, your gated communities, those are more protected than any other community that isn't gated, but you're so spread out and that to me is by design, to keep people from getting together, keep people from building communities. So when I read that and I see the way things are now, I really truly appreciate that you guys are putting on events like this, because it is bringing us together, and that's what they don't want. So I see it as this small little microcosm of what everybody's starting to wake up to. The whole reason that TikTok was going to be eradicated or sold to Americans, because they want to control that narrative, and it's being taken from them, and they are drowning in the fact that people are waking up. It's a big scramble. I think a lot of what we have going on today in this world, the extremism and how dire it is right now, is because people are waking up to it, and they are fighting tooth and nail to try to maintain the system that keeps everybody oppressed. So I really appreciate that you guys are doing this stuff. I really appreciate the education that you're providing, getting people together, the community that you're building, and I hope to continue to be a part of it. So
thank you. Appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And also, just to get a little bit back to the text, I think it's important, just tying it back to what you said about how like modern slave labor like that still exists. That's something that never went away. That is a still existing historical remnant. Same thing with apartheid South Africa. Like technically apartheid is gone in the way that we like understand how they teach it in school, but they still have their like white gated communities where the Afrikaners are like siphoned off away from everything else, and they have infinitely more money and resources than the indigenous Black Africans that actually live in South Africa. And I think like we can observe that mirror here in the United States. Like we still have these systems of white supremacy and internal imperialism, like Albizu was talking about, that are continuing. And I think it speaks to like the necessity of events like this and the political education, because there is I think a liberation for the American people that can be actualized, right? It just hasn't happened yet. And the only way that we're going to actualize it is by observing where there were failures and where there were successes. Like, what are the gains that we have made from the civil rights movement and the Civil War, and like what is there still that needs its own solution? And the solution, of course, is socialism. You know what I mean? Like the reason that South Africa was never able to advance past the remnants of the apartheid system is because they still maintain a capitalist economy. There are countries like Cuba and like China that were dealing with their colonial encroachments from the Japanese or from the Spanish or from the Americans, and because they divested from capitalism, they were able to permanently push out those mechanisms once and for all.
Sure. something I wanted to point out too is that, like, in this piece, in several instances, like Sankara is able to link like the financial domination of imperialism to the maintenance of apartheid, and to create like the contemporary parallel. I mean, that is what is happening in Palestine. Like every single one of the major Western imperialist powers is actively involved in the genocide in Palestine, and there is an economic reason for that too. If you look, most of the weapons that are being used are funded by U.S. like arms dealers like Lockheed Martin or RTX or Raytheon, whatever it goes by now. It doesn't really matter. But like all of those institutions that are actively making money off of the suffering of Palestinians exist and function in the exact same way that businesses and things like that were doing to defend apartheid in South Africa. So this thing's like, even though like that's not like the exact situation now, like it continues into today. As long as imperialism exists and continues to be allowed to do its thing, these situations like apartheid South Africa, like the genocide in Palestine, will continue to happen because the system is motivated by the profit it receives for doing those things. Would anybody else like to give their thoughts?
Over $50 value, so if your subscription is $100.
Yeah, if you want to speak.
And then
Yeah, go ahead.
Moon is a vegan baked cake, so
Thank you,
like
babe.
be a customized cake for up to $150.
I don't have like a lot to say, but something that I think is really dangerous, especially here in America, is like the rise of liberal legalism, where people think that like what is law is moral, and on top of that, people think that they can change things in this country by like voting. But that's like the founding fathers had the intention of like the system being slow so that they could do what they wanted to do while people were thinking they were making a difference voting for things that in reality weren't actually changing. Because I've only been here for 22 years, but in my life there's been 3 different presidents and not a single one of them has changed like shit in a meaningful way, in my opinion.
For sure, that's spot on. Does anybody else like to add anything? We encourage you all to speak. We love to hear your thoughts. You are our community.
I mean, if we're looking at like the military industrial complex, just this year, it's $895 billion. And if you look at who's invested in it, it's all of our politicians. It's all of the people that are in the White House right now and that were in the White House before. They're the ones that are profiting off of the bombing of Palestinians and, drone strikes and all of that. And people, I think, have forgotten exactly what happened under Obama and exactly how bad he was. I see a lot of liberals, being like, oh, I miss the Obama years. And I'm like, so you miss when we were doing drone strikes on weddings? You miss when we were doing, drone strikes in Yemen, when we were just like, we were always killing people and we were always being imperialist. And it was always the politicians and it was always the elite that were benefiting from that because they're all invested into it. It's not us that are invested into it. It's them that are making billions off of these imperialist structures.
Absolutely. And we're saying all of these things, we're talking about the fact that these liberal frameworks are not able to bring about the change that we desire. But here in this piece, Sankara talks about the active changes that the socialist structure were performing for Burkina Faso. We're talking about new schools, vaccination campaigns, providing new jobs, new industrial infrastructure. He's talking about a 5-year plan. And like that, obviously takes me back to thinking about the USSR. The USSR's first 5-year plan absolutely fundamentally changed the country. Talking about massive electrification. You're talking about like one of my favorite things to mention, like with the 5-year plan in regards to the USSR, is like seeing this peasant family getting to use a radio for the first time and being absolutely blown away by it. But like, this is the things that socialism could do in such a small amount of time. It's able to fundamentally revolutionize the way that we interact with the world on a political, on a social, on a economic level. And like, this is what we could be if we are willing to stand together, if we can come together, and that's a reminder of why we're here today, to come together, to think about the power that we have whenever we stand with each other.
I just wanted to say something in the question of governance, right, and the function of government. I think we can all agree in some capacity that we continue to see things in our city that are not reflective of what the people want. And when you see that as a continuous pattern, not only in the local level, just in the national level, we see that what the people that are governing are doing doesn't reflect the will of the people. And when that is a continuous issue, we have to examine why is that. It doesn't matter across party lines. That continues to be the continuous contradiction. So I do think, and specifically just thinking in regards of here in Orlando, right? There was a huge mobilization from specifically corporations trying to stop a shelter in downtown, where the majority of people can agree that we need housing. And there's people right at this very second that need immediate housing. So the reality is that the contradictions of like a shelter, whether it like beautifies our neighborhood or not, or whatever, it doesn't matter. When the reality is there's people that are sleeping in those same streets. So the problem doesn't go away.
Who have jobs.
Exactly, that people have to have jobs, and that's jobs. And that's another thing too. We continue to engage with community members that let us know too. The majority of them have full-time jobs and still cannot afford any form of living situation. So then we have to examine what they tell us, right? They tell us that people just don't want to work, that we are shortage in housing, all of these things, but then there's no real follow up on how to really, really deal with the issue at hand. So that's something that I think was something that really in the speech, he is laying out the ground floor of what is the will of the people and what is going to be the steps moving forward. So that's something that I just wanted to bring forward as well.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Well, that will be the end of our first political education session. Thank you all for coming here. Thank you all for participating. So yeah, anyways, I'm going to hand it off to
Thank you,
Ethan.
Alex. Thank you, everybody. This is an amazing day. It's an amazing celebration. It's a reminder, this is a fundraiser for our real headquarters, but I want to be transparent. This is free for Pine Hills residents. So if you are a member of Pine Hills, this event is for you. We're going to be teaching skills. We're going to be having games. We're going to be having more political education. There's going to be amazing things that we're going to be doing. So a little bit of checking. So if you don't have, or if you're interested in getting a wristband in the first tent, say hi to Serena and Bisu. They are welcoming right now on the real table. So on the real table, we actually also have some stickers, bookmarks, books, and our amazing zines, which are magazines that are written by the comrades here at the Revolutionary Education and Action League. Ask about them, get involved. And we are also having this raffles, amazing prizes today. You could even win today food, jewelry, crochet items, a tattoo, vouchers, a haircut. There's amazing prices that you can go and check them out. So if you haven't, please go check out the raffles. There's a chance that you can win something really, really amazing today. I also want to point out, I know that it is hot, it is spring, but make sure that you are hydrating yourself. We have waters in here, and we also have here a medical tent. So if at any point you need to lay down or need something, or perhaps need a Band-Aid, whatever that you might need, we have here a medical tent for you. We have the bathrooms as well that are located. The restrooms there to be signs. Our defense team over there, we're going to be playing games. We have a kid corner or just a corner where you want to lay down, and we're going to be starting our workshop here. Once again, thank you to our vendors today. So if you haven't had a chance to check the vendors, I know that we've been talking a lot, but we're going to be also having a workshop. We're going to go in the vendors. We're going to have some food. We have a live painter over there, Moni. Hi! Go check her out. Ask her about her painting. What inspired her? What is it about? So please go ahead and check those out. We also have some safety teams. They are wearing those vests. So if there's at any point you need something, you can also communicate with them. I want to give a round of applause, please, to our lead organizers, Emmy over there and Leela. Thank you for putting this event together. They have worked tirelessly. They've had so many meetings, so many things. So even today, you are here right now at the People's Freedom Farm. Our farm volunteers were here as early as 9 a.m., making sure that we were catering to the farm. So our farm leads and the people in the organizations have been doing an amazing job this week, just canvassing all across Pine Hills, just inviting the neighbors, making sure that they come because this is an event for them. So we're so happy to have you here. And with that being said, I would like to pass the mic to our next event, and it is our workshop lead, Kali.
I also just want to make an announcement. So at the same time as our Strawberry Jam workshop, we're going to be having some defense games at that tent back there. We'll be having, if you want to check out the itinerary, it's on this post here too. So you just know what's going on at what time, what events pique your interest. But yeah, if anyone wants to head over to Milo's tent back there and get started on the defense games, Milo leads our defense program at Real. Really pivotal to the safety of our organization. Milo is really experienced in grappling and self-defense tactics and jiu-jitsu, so it's going to be some grappling games, some ways to protect yourself, but also have fun. So whichever ones you guys would like, I'll give you a few minutes to make that decision and we can get started soon.
So welcome to the Jaybefaunt channel. I'm your host, JamesBFauntleroy. As you guys have been seeing for the last half hour or so, we have been actually here at the events for here in Central Florida. For the residents here in Central Florida, it's also a fundraising event so that Real Orlando has their HQ. So this is a fundraiser for that. REAL is an acronym for Revolutionary Education Action League. If you guys have not already, we have actually had some of the members on Thursday evening on RBN. So if you guys would like to, you guys can actually check that out. It's one of the latest streams that we actually had. But this is actually an event that is for the people. That is a local mutual aid and teaching organization that is helping the community here in Pine Hills in Orlando. And Pine Hills is largely a Black and brown community that has been, it has been underserved. Really, has it been served at all? Really, not really. And so they've been doing, very great work there, as well as in the Paramore area in Orlando. If you guys remember on one of my last live streams, one of the things that we talked about was one of the most displaced, one of the most economically displaced economies and zip codes.
We got wrestle balls, strawberry jam workshops, raffle tickets, things for sale, vendors.
We've had, it's one of the most economically unstable zip codes in Orlando, Florida, is the one that they serve. So if you guys would like to, I will put in the description below their Give Butter so you guys can donate to them so they can have an HQ so that they can do more for the community, because this is something that a lot of people aren't really doing, as much as they should. We have a lot of nonprofits with the nonprofit industrial complex, and they're doing something minimal, but at the same time, it's like, are they doing more on a local level that is truly revolutionary in its roots? So, so let's do the best that we possibly can. Just wanted to, have, this event. I wanted to make sure that I was present for this event. Albizu, can I get you on camera for a second? Yeah, let's go. All right. So if you could explain to some of our audience that's watching this is on my channel, why you're here.
I am a founding member of the Revolutionary Education Action League. I was on your panel yesterday, blabbering about what we do. What we're here for is to fundraise for our HQ. We are an organization that is around 4 years old, and if I do say so myself, we made great strides. We've established the People's Free Kitchen, which gives food to the needy. We're talking about at least 200 meals per week, as well as the Solidarity Hub, which we do every month. We are right there in the Paramore community. You've been there, James. Like, we do haircuts, we fix people's bikes, we give food, we give clothes. It's a great time. We also are here in the People's Freedom Farm, in which we give people locally grown food, understanding that corporations control the entirety of our lives, including our foods. That's why you be eating red 40 or like blue or something you can't pronounce. Right here, we're growing gandules for my boricuas out there. I am a boricua. You can cook arroz con gandules with it. We give it out to the people. Anything that the people don't use goes right back to our free kitchen, right? All that being said, I hope I'm not blabbering too much, but no, you're good. All that being said, we've done this purely by our organizational will, and we see that if we had a headquarters, we would be at least 4 times as effective. We are not rebellious youth looking to rebel against our parents or anything like that. We are serious people who want to make serious political gains, and we are seriously have a revolutionary politic. And we, in our seriousness, we want to institutionalize the revolution, have a place, have a solid ground in the community, and make that available. There is no other place that you're going to get that will tell you the truth about imperialism, that will tell you the truth about NATO's wars, that will tell you the truth about our endeavors in Africa, our relationship with China. They won't tell you the truth about the corporate relationships in the media. So it is important, and you know this more than anyone, James, that we have an institution that can be a voice of truth biased to the interests of the people, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, just as an aside to mention that you were talking about you in the Paramore area, one of the things that I found out was that it was a report that was done out of Orlando Business Insider that actually said that the zip code that you guys serve in the Paramore area, 32805, is actually one of the most economically depressed areas in Central Florida. So you guys are really in the thick of it when it comes to helping and serving the people.
Yeah, I think that just given my history with organizing, I don't really see any sort of socialist try to lay roots there at all, and we're just doing our darnest to show people we're just a handful of people that can do this on a regular basis just by the will. So it begs the question, why do the streets look like that? Why do the fences look like that? Why do the businesses look like that? And we want to reveal that contradiction to the people and show them that it is because of the capitalist interest that they find themselves in such conditions.
Yep. Thank you so very much, man. And I appreciate the work that you guys are doing. You guys are doing the damn thing. And I will see you out here a little bit more. I'm going to give you some Country Time lemonade in the meantime. Yep. All right, everybody. So that was one of the members of the Revolutionary Education Action League. This is really a labor of love that they're doing, and it is very important that they're able to do this for the community. So as far as it goes, if you're not doing something for your community, if you have the ability to do so, then it's important for you to come out. It's important for you to do something for your local community. Are you in Santa Monica? Can you be doing the same thing? Are you in Milwaukee? Can you be doing the same thing? Are you in Grants Pass? Could you be doing the same thing? It doesn't matter. Are you in Flint? Are you doing stuff in Flint for your community? That's the question. And there's a lot of things that are going on right now. I'm just going to share some of the actions that they're doing. Hello. Beautiful strawberries. Take a look at that. These are beautiful. You guys are making strawberry jam?
Yes.
Okay, nice.
Yes, these strawberries
were gleaned by a farm that also invited us to participate. What's the name of the farm that we gleaned the strawberries, Leela?
The farm?
Yeah.
It's Rose Hill Farm.
Rose Hill Farm.
And I think we're going to talk about the gleaning during the workshop.
Oh,
like how we came.
Awesome.
And what does gleaning even mean, right?
Yeah, well, gleaning is actually a term because I was an evangelical for almost 20 years, so I know what that term means. So gleaning, actually, let me put the camera on myself. In the terms of gleaning, that was actually a term that was actually in the Bible where people would do their harvesting, but anything that they may have missed on the pass through or anything that had dropped to the floor on the pass through, they left it alone. They were not allowed to go back for it. So this allowed the people who were economically disadvantaged, and this goes back to ancient Israel, where they can actually go themselves and pick from those fields. Even though they didn't own the fields, they were able to go and pick from those fields, and it offered them still, they were able to work for their food, had dignity, but it was left over for them. And so this is the gleaning that was talked about. And a lot of times, unfortunately, because you have some evangelicals that appeal to capitalism, which look, can we call a thing? Look, some of these people, Jesus would have whipped out of the temple too. So let's continue. So if you are somebody that actually wants to do for your community, and if you got a farm, could you glean a little bit for your community that's displaced? Can you glean a little bit more for your community that is unhoused? Just a thought. Thank you so very much, by the way. Let's go ahead and take a look at... So, of course, just to let you guys know, they also have vendors out here. Local vendors, local small business owners that are literally actually helping out their community as well, that are actually providing for them as well. So you would literally have local vendors out here too. So, it's not just people who are, because we also believe in small businesses. But the small businesses we believe in is one that is based on the workers owning the means of production. Like, for instance, technically, I am a small business owner because I own my own means of production because I have my own channel. So that's the thing. And so it is doing it without the exploitation. And small businesses can be all worker owned. So support small businesses, especially the ones that are worker-owned small businesses like worker co-ops and things like that. So let me see if I can interview someone else. Hey, can I interview you for it really quick?
Yeah, sure. What's up?
Okay. So if you can just give your thoughts about as to why it's so important that Real Orlando has a HQ and what this could mean for the community.
I think it's really important for Real to have the HQ because it's a consolidation of all of the efforts that we're currently working on. We have a number of projects like the People's Freedom Farm where we grow all of our own food, and then the People's Free Kitchen, which we do our weekly distributions. We have a lot of resources right now, but with the HQ, we would be able to consolidate those efforts. We'd be able to make things more efficient. We'd be able to get more done so that we can serve the community in a much more effective way.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier in my speech, we're doing a lot of work, but there's a lot more to come, and we want to be able to meet those challenges head on, whatever it takes so that we can step up and serve the people. And that's why we need this HQ. It's all about developing our efforts in terms of serving the community and being able to provide political education and that action to the community.
Yeah, one of the things that I find really interesting is that it's sad, to be honest with you. I think is over the last 3 years that homelessness has risen about 30% within this country. And it is exploding here in Florida. And of course, I think it was Ita that was talking about the homeless shelter that was basically, not approved at all. And now they are trying to give $3 million to the Christian Service Center to retrofit 2 Greyhound buses to put temporary beds in for homeless people. So from going from a brick and mortar homeless shelter to now just putting them on buses. And this is part of the community that you're trying to serve as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's just pretty straightforward that any time that they come out and say that they care about the people, that is very obviously not the case. You know, there's any number of things that they could be doing right now to try to make it easier for the people. Like they could do rent controls, or they could, provide more extensive homeless shelters, or, any sort of programs to provide for people's physical needs like eating or, water or any of that. But they don't do it. They're going to, like you said, they're going to take Greyhound buses and put beds in them. It just shows fundamentally that at a certain level, they don't see us as human beings. They do not see homeless people as human beings.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah, so it's just, it's sickening that they would continue to take these measures that do not do anything to really provide for our community members.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, because we're all really just numbers. And the funny part is, I brought this out the other day, is that we're not seen as people, but corporations are. Yeah. Isn't that kind of ironic?
Yo, that's just fundamentally where we're at with capitalism, is that, when you see people out on the street, they want us to ignore them, to pretend like they don't matter. But then whenever a corporation steps up in a legal battle, we're supposed to care that they get their rights to maintain intellectual property. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I just want to thank you guys for the work that you guys are doing. You guys are doing an amazing job out here. And I'm live streaming this particularly because I want my audience and many other people to be encouraged to do the same thing. Could they do this in places like, Detroit? Could they do this more in places like, Flint, Michigan, Jackson, Mississippi, Savannah, Georgia, or Four Corners, North Carolina, even in the really small towns, could we do this out there? Because all really is take two people and it grows from there.
Yeah, I mean, that's we were talking about, you want to start locally, start where you're at. You don't need to reinvent the wheel, and you don't need to try to immediately make it into this life-changing thing. You notice what your community needs, you go out there, you meet their needs, and you also provide educational programs to remind them that we shouldn't have to be the ones going out here and doing this. The government should be providing for the people, and they are not. But where they fail, we will step up.
Yeah,
we will step up.
With that, you get the last word. Thank you so very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being here, Jerry.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. All right, everybody. So
events that we do at the farm are skill workshops. So over
we
the
also
last few months, we've been
there are kids here, families here right now. So could you guys be doing more? I think that's the important part. So right now, if you can see right now over there, they're doing the self-defense course. They have a huge group of people already going in to do the self-defense course, as we can see right now. Also, they're going to be doing some other things like teaching people how to can their own foods, make their own jams and jellies. It's so many different things that we're teaching. There's also the farm over there. I've actually interviewed and displayed some of the farm on this channel as well. If you guys would like to, you guys can go back and see that. There are also going to be art exhibit for the kids corner. That's going to be over here as well, if you guys can see. So they're going to be having that as well. So of course, this is a beautiful day outside. It is a balmy 83 degrees and sunny, so with some clouds in the sky. And so could you get outside? Could you get to know your neighbors? Could you get to know your community? This is what it's about. Could you get to know your community that's doing things for the people? Could you get together with friends and do something similar? Those of you who are more affluent, could you do something like this as well, right? So I just wanted to come in and share this as well, because I wanted to let you guys know that many hands make the load light, and the best thing that we could possibly do is by putting our hands in and saying, how can we help? And doing the best you possibly can. So I just wanted to share this. This will also be uploaded onto RBN as well. I I do apologize. I wasn't able to get the first beginnings of the speeches, but that's because my camera overheated and it went off. And then on top of it, for some reason, StreamYard just was not having, it was having a day. So, but I got the majority of it, so I'm glad I was able to. And then I will also splice on the beginning speeches that I recorded already, so that we could have it all cohesively together. But thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. This has been amazing, and I will be here for a long, long time until they basically kick me out. So, but also I will be putting in the description the link to their Cash App as well as their Give Butter if you guys would like to donate so that they can have an HQ. This is a labor of love, and they really do love the people, and we just got to support groups like this, okay? So everybody, I will see you in the next one. Water your plants, water yourselves, leave the world better than you found it. Do all the things if you got them, like always, and get outside if you possibly can. Know your limitations, but get outside you possibly can, and get to know your neighbors and do things what you can for your community, okay? I love you guys for watching. Mwah, forehead kisses to every single one of you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.